Alright, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take apart and look at some 2020 Halloween props or parts. This is the ghost light for a pumpkin. I already took it out of its package. Anyway, it says it's got an auto timer, stays on for 4 hours, stays off for 20 hours, so you never have to turn it on and off. So if you turn it on 8 o'clock at night, it means it runs to midnight, then turns off from midnight to 8 o'clock at night, so on and so forth. Now it works. It's got a try me button, and it has an off-on switch. So let's see what it looks like, and see how it works. So let's first dim some lights. And we're going to turn it on. It's really bright. Then we got a pumpkin here. Now, this pumpkin doesn't have the big cutouts like you might if you carve a real pumpkin. This pumpkin is a foam one. I'll tip it slowly so the ghost doesn't move. Doesn't look horrible, but you really can't see the ghost. It just looks like you got a flicker light inside. And as you can see, it is bright enough to actually overpower the foam of the pumpkin. Doesn't look bad, but you lose the effect of seeing the miniature ghost that's inside. So let's pull it back out and let's turn on some lights and remove the foam pumpkin. Now it's similar to what I believe it is. It's going to be similar to that light I took apart to test the 3-volt option from Big Lots. This guy. Just without the big capacitor, since it's not AC, it's DC, runs off batteries. It's 4.5 volts. There's the battery pack. Inside here should probably be 3 AAAs, which there is. This was made in Shenzhen or Guangdong, China, according to the bottom. One of those two places. This was $6 at the grocery store. Decided to buy it since it was on sale. Normally it's $10. But since Halloween is literally 2 weeks away, figured I'd try it. Thought it'd be interesting to take apart and see what it's made of. Yep. Not the greatest, since their little glue has broke. This is the same material, same sheet, that is inside of those tall bulbs that you'd stick in for the flame lights in your house. This stuff right here, since I actually have one. This is the one I did when I did the test to check Adam Savage's time frame. As you can see, it doesn't have the top part with the microcontroller and the position switch. And you can see it's basically the same material, farther spread out. It does have the bank of diodes, and transistors, which are right there. So it does have this and this. It doesn't have the computer chip that I can see yet, or the position switch. This is a silica or silicone based adhesive. It's rubbery. Never mind, it does have the computer chip right there. And that's the timing chip. This piece sticking up is the flash sequence for timing. Because it doesn't matter if you turn it upside down, the flames still only go one direction. So you could technically, if you wanted to spend $6 or so, you could technically buy this and use this setup, since it's already set for 4.5 volts. Whereas the ones in the big flame lights and the ones that are in the smaller lights, they're 3 volts. So Not a big fan of this white silicone-ish glue, mainly because it doesn't stick very well. It's still sticky. If you know anything about silicone, if you apply it improperly, it stays sticky forever. And it's kind of annoying. There you go. So that's what's inside these little guys. Might have some future uses. Might leave it as a little ghost for a pumpkin that's got a bigger cutout, so you can actually see the ghost inside. Or if you're one of those people that do the big open hole pumpkin designs, and then you like paint it and decorate the inner walls, this might look pretty cool in the center. This is the first one I wanted to check. I assumed it was a solid insert, not the plastic paper rolled into a tube. Thought it was going to be more solid, like the one flame light that's tapered. But so I don't lose the screws, pop them back in real quick. We'll go on to the second piece. There you go. So get that out of the way. Next, some of y'all might have seen this one. It's a pumpkin lantern with the try me button. I took it out of the box. It does the faux flames. Battery operated LED pumpkin lantern. And the reason I wanted to take this one apart, one, I want to see how they do the flame effect. So we'll turn off the light and then press the try me. Try and get the camera to focus. There we go. And you can see the flame effect is much different. It's more smooth. The whole thing glows since it's supposed to be a lantern. You can see the flame effect on the back going through the pumpkin. It has its little handles. You can carry it at night or hang it from a hook. This came in a witch, a pumpkin, and a skull at the store I was at. It also was on clearance, or excuse me, Halloween discount. This thing cost like $11. So, runs on 4.5 volts. There's 3 button cells in this little pack to turn it on. It did not come with a battery inside, which is why if you don't hold this, it doesn't stay on, because the switch does absolutely nothing since there's no batteries. So I'm going to pull out the try me button. The reason I wanted to do this one is because of the disclaimer paper it comes with. It says, if I change or modify this, I void my authority to operate it. It basically says, change or modification not expressly approved by the party responsible for compliance could void the user's authority to operate this equipment. Then it has a whole bunch of the FCC rules, because they say this equipment cannot interfere with other pieces of equipment, but must allow other pieces of equipment to interfere with it. So I want to see why a light that runs on batteries has an FCC regulation for interference. Ooh, that was a loud pop. That would be the spring-loaded handle coming out. There's 4 screws. They're number 2 Phillips. They're deep in there, so you need a long, thin shank screwdriver. My standard number 2 that I normally use, the shank is too fat and I can't get it all the way to the bottom where the screw heads are. There we go. So there's the back. There's the mechanism. Wow. I haven't seen a mechanism like this in real life, only on other videos. How it works: the motor spins the shaft, which has these cut pieces of, feels like mylar, that are just pushed over the shaft at an angle, so they're wedged. Basically, the notch is smaller than the shaft, and when you push it on, they twist sideways to keep under tension. Yeah. When the motor spins this shaft, the light, which are those 3 lights right there, reflect off of these curved shaped aluminum flames, and then it reflects it onto the opaque orange plastic. So we'll plug it back in. And I'll take these out so I don't break them. So you're going to have the whole mechanism out of the pumpkin. This is very similar to what they use in those fake fireplaces you can buy that don't produce any heat, but have the fake flames that come up, and you got logs in the foreground. So it's the same setup, just on a much smaller scale. This could be more usable if you're doing something such as a dollhouse or a larger display. So I'll turn the bright light off here. Turn this light off here. You can see the flame effect. You can see the rotation. See if I can slide this mylar off. Also, by sliding the mylar, you can also change the flame pattern by changing the twists. Make it steeper. It looks like it's one big piece that's cut like you would cut out those, when you stack your paper and you trim out a person and you pull it out and you got a whole string of people or snowflakes. This piece of mylar is folded on top of the other one, so let's change the flame pattern a little. Give it a little bit of a twist. See if it looks a little better. Flames look a little bit more violent now. These two flames are stacked on top of each other. So if you buy one of these, now I will tell you the witch and the pumpkin, if you find these flame lanterns, was orange. The skull was white, which I didn't particularly care for. I think it would look better in red. The pumpkin is the only one where the casing's orange. The other ones are all black casings. Also, the pumpkin is the largest. It's physically bigger than the other lanterns they had on display. And I got this at my local Fry's, which I know are different names throughout the country. I'm sure you can get them other places too. And now that you're seeing how this mechanism works, if you build DIY Halloween props, you can make this on a larger scale. You can get a larger motor, put a larger shaft on it, and cut out your own mylar. You can buy sheets of rigid, reflective plastics or mylar. And then, of course, your LEDs. They're using the 3 flats on a circuit board that have I don't know why there's a chip on it, truthfully. I understand why there's resistors, so you don't overpower them. But there is a little microchip there. It just says U1, and there's no markings on the chip, so I can't tell you what it is. It's possibly a voltage control, because the motor, they have the power coming in on the right here. It goes across all the LEDs, then the chip, then one LED here, and then it goes to the motor. So the motor is actually soldered in series with the LEDs, so it might be there to help with any noise. There's, like I said, no markings on the top to tell me what the chip is. Yeah, this little circuit board here is just for the test button, or the try me button. Here's your battery pack, which is rather large. 4.5 volts. I wonder if you have to put, like, I don't even know. It's a pretty big battery pack. Let's see where the batteries go. Oh, This thing takes C's. It takes, oh, it takes 2 of them. So it's running at 3 volts. This little battery pack's putting out 4.5. So this must be resisted, and that's why they use a circuit board, something that'll reduce the power, because you don't want to run too much power. This little hobby motor should look familiar to some. It's the same type of hobby motor they use in Max and most animated hobby houses. They usually run from as low as 1.5 volts up to 9 volts. So the more voltage you give it, the faster it spins. Now it's spinning pretty slow. About 1 revolution every 5 seconds. So what is that? 12 RPM. So if you want to build something bigger for a Halloween DIY, it gives you a baseline to run off of. If you want to try and build something like this, you can go, I need something that puts out 12 RPM. Get a motor that slows down, or gears. I'm just changing the flame pattern. If you were to build something like this, I don't like being able to see the 3 LEDs through the front plexi here. I would probably put a little blank spot or something to help hide them or tip the angle. That's just me. So, but I wanted to show these new 2020 Halloween things that you might be able to incorporate into other items. A little ghosty. I figured was using a similar to the lights that you get that do the flame, and I was right. It's actually kind of cool, but I think it's excessively bright. You can always dim it down. Use weaker batteries, or you can put a resistor inside. Or if you like them bright, there you go. The pumpkins that I carve are a little bit, as you saw the skull, you really can't see this. You can't see it through it, so you need something with a much larger opening. So something like this. And even then, it's hard to tell what's inside here. So I don't know if it's just a gimmick to make people buy them, like me, because you need a pumpkin with a really large opening to see that there's a ghost inside. And then this, I was curious on how they did the flame effect. I had my ideas. There's another one you can buy that this isn't a motor. It's a plastic multi-cut dome, so it looks like a over-exaggerated diamond. And then the LEDs inside rotate. So when they rotate, the light coming out of each of the small flat panels on this plastic dome makes the light travel in different angles, so it gives it another fire effect. It doesn't look as good as cutting Mylar into little fishies, because if you actually look at the Mylar, or try to, because the glare, I'll slide one off, make it easier. There we go. Now I'll slide a couple off. You see, like a mouth and a tail. And then you can see they're just connected in the center with oval holes, so when you slide them on, it twists them and keeps them in place. It's kind of like a little fish design. If you want to build something like this yourself, you can make a really small one, hook it up to a really small hobby motor, or even a larger hobby motor with a small drive that's off-center. You know, make a little campfire scene for your little animated village. So this was more of a what's available this year and what you might be able to do with it versus a repair, which is what normally I do. Because I like to incorporate things that aren't related to make things work better for other objects or other displays. So I also like this pumpkin cutout because it's one of the more aggressive pumpkins. It's not like Happy. You know, if you make these more triangular and file the teeth down a little, it would look like a Happy pumpkin. I like the fact it looks more sinister. So I guess the hardest part of putting this back together is going to be putting the handle back in. You can see where it goes in. You can also see how much smaller it is. It's under spring tension. So all in all, it's not bad. It's not bad for the $11. I do like the fact they're using the spinning wheel that you can technically adjust your positions and your tightness of these to change your flame patterns. So it's a basic short review in about 21 minutes. So short's relative. All right, so hopefully you enjoy it, and we'll be back doing the Max repairs and the Department 56 repairs like normal shortly. There's a whole bunch coming out. I've had a whole bunch sent in, as well as my own ones that have started to fail, mainly because I've opened them up to show people the insides, and when I reassembled them, something went wrong, or I had the timing out, like on the tilt and hurl. I figured out why it's throwing the pumpkins. Now I just have to show you how to fix it. So we will return the next episode with an animated house repair. Thanks for watching.